Hey Matt, how you doing?
Good, Ty. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. Tonight we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence with our childhood friend Denny O'Donovan.
Yeah, man. Yep. I look forward to it. Artificial intelligence with Denny. It has a nice little ring to it.
So I have a ton of backlogged think like a surgeon that you
Yeah.
have not you have not given me allowed me to do. Either you've edited them out or you've been like, "Oh, I don't have time," and you log on a minute before it starts.
I don't know what you're talking about. So that's just really too
So
bad. We'll try
because
now. You have got 7 minutes.
the email has been inundated for requests of think like a surgeon.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, inundated.
From
Yeah. So I have a backlog, but tonight we only have time to discuss artificial intelligence.
okay, but until
So
then, okay.
what were your like literally what were your first thoughts when you heard about artificial intelligence? Like who'd you hear it from first?
I thought Jetsons. Like George
Okay.
Jetson kind of stuff.
Okay.
Didn't really think too much about it.
Okay. So I think I mean obviously there was the Terminator and the Jetsons and all that kind of stuff, but I think the first like podcast I heard about it was more of a it's going to take away all the jobs. It was very
Right.
much of a doom and gloom, and it's like, well, why are we doing this if it's all doom and gloom? But then as I talk to other people, they're like, oh no, every time there's innovation in the business world, it always creates jobs. So then there's this whole other people saying like, oh, it's going to be great. And then there's
Yep.
people who I think it's going to be neutral. And
Right.
I'm curious to talk to Danny about what his opinion is. I'm also curious, like, how am I using AI already that I wasn't even aware of?
Yeah. I've used it more probably in the last 3 or 4 months than I ever thought I would. For example, I went in and got tested, and I have my cholesterol is really high. It's
Uh-huh.
just genetics. And so I went into ChatGPT and said, what's a good diet to lower my LDL? And they
Okay.
gave me everything, right?
They
Here's
say
what you should do.
Mediterranean diet.
They
Okay.
did, but like oatmeal and stuff like stuff I wasn't doing before,
Okay.
and like they fine tuned it, like
Okay.
really got into it. So I've done it for that stuff for work. I chart a lot of things, and it kind of gives me insights on the data that I track. So it's fascinating, I think.
Okay. So my think like a surgeon is in medicine or surgery. My dad used to always say, "Don't be the first to take up the new, or the last to give up the old."
I thought
And
your dad always said, "Measure twice, cut once." I thought that was think like a
I
surgeon.
think he heard that from somebody else.
Okay.
But there is a lot of stuff in medicine where like things seem to be great, and you don't want to be like, "Hey, I went to a weekend course this weekend, and there's this new surgery and there's this new implant. I'm going to jump into it." It's kind of like read the data, let some other people try it on their patients first, and then make sure that data sticks and it's real.
Right.
Don't jump into everything. But at the same time, you don't want to be the guy who's like, well, this is how we did in the 80s and it's always been good. So I think that's a little bit how people should approach AI. You do not want to get left behind where everybody's using it, but you. But at the same point, you don't have to jump in right away to the most recent AI thing. Like sit back a little bit, choose the products that are right for you. And I think that's what's going to be great listening to Denny to be like, what does he know?
Well, I guess for me, AI, it's like I feel like there's so many different. I'm trying to think of the right way to say this, but I feel like there's not like just an easy off the shelf. This is AI, right?
Yeah.
There's ChatGPT, which I'm familiar with, but
Yeah.
then I guess, like you said, we use it probably every day and not aware that we're using it,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I guess I need a better understanding of what AI really is,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
used ChatGPT yesterday. I said, "Why is Earl Campbell not considered the greatest running back of all time?" It just has always confused me. I mean,
Hi, my name is not ChatGPT. You texted that to me,
I'm
okay?
sorry.
I've told you my name is not Siri, and I'm not ChatGPT. I'm
Okay.
just the idiot that keeps responding to you.
Okay. All right. Well, here's Danny.
All right.
Hey, everybody. So, welcome to House Calls, the podcast. Tonight, Matt and I are talking to Denny O'Donovan, who's one of our childhood friends. And unknown to us over the last couple of years, he has been getting into and teaching about artificial intelligence, which Matt knows a little bit about. I don't know much about. So, we're excited for Denny to talk to us. He is the founder of ProfitComm And now, Denny, you are going to tell us how this whole journey started, how you
Wait,
went from
wait,
teaching us to break dance to now teaching
That's
us about
right.
AI.
Yes.
and
Yes. The
you know what?
mullet and the mustache and then breakdancing. I was
Wow.
like Captain Phase.
You really were. And you're already leading the way with the white hair.
Yeah.
Again, pure jealous. So, I mean, we're following you wherever you go, Denny.
It's funny, like when I see somebody at a networking event and I haven't seen them in a little while and they're like, what's different about you? And meanwhile, the white dome. But no, I appreciate you having me on, guys. It's been a while since I've seen you guys, and
Yeah.
when you asked, I was really intrigued because certainly it's something I love to talk about. But yeah, I started in technology back in 96, 95, right after I graduated from Towson, and I'll give my Aunt Megan a shout because I started working at MCI in the call centers, dialing like friends of the firm or whatever the long distance thing was. Long distance was a $160 billion a year business. Now it's a free app. I certainly picked the right business to be in, right?
You know what's funny,
But
though, Denny? You know, let's stop right there. And I think in terms of shout outs, Megan O'Donovan Baldecki gets more than anybody here. I mean,
she,
I mean, she is like she's kind of behind the scenes, kind of like a little puppeteer. She's pulling a lot of strings. She's got a lot of pull around town. I swear. I think
she
once a week we mention her.
to this day, I have been in trainings from a million people. And to this day, I'd say she's one of the top trainers I've ever seen. Just the way she engages a crowd, the way she gets the group fired up. Um, and I was, that was a long time ago. So, but I love her, and she's speaking of Old Miss, right? They got some Old Miss
Yeah,
folks in that household.
Oh, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Um, but yeah, that's where I started, and then
So do you
I
think?
did a
Wait, I'm
really
sorry,
really.
Denny. Denny. So you think long distance? Because Ty was thinking about switching his plan. Do you think it's coming back, or do
You
you
want to see
think?
something funny? I got this because this says Pearl Jam. It's AT&T for Pearl Jam. I got it on eBay. Um, so you can get anything on eBay. But
Wait, what
no,
was
no,
that?
no, while we're at it, let's take a rundown. How about this? The blue crackberry.
Oh, my gosh.
Ty has no idea. Ty
No, I
thinks
had a
that's Clico.
BlackBerry.
Ty thinks
But
that's a
why do you still
ColecoVision.
have it?
What I was do so, and then there's the pager.
Wow,
Remember
you
that
were a
feeling?
breakdancer. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So,
So
Denny,
there's
I got to tell you, my first pager was right when I started my internship. And at some point, because I never had one, I guess I had one in medical school, but it wasn't mine. I only had it on call. And at some point, I put my pager on vibrate the day that my wife and I moved into our house internship, and it starts going off. And I didn't know there was a vibrate mode on that thing. And we
nice.
were like, what is going on in our house? Like we had no idea what it was. And it was the trauma pager, like the big, loud, high vibration one. And I still crack up about that. We're searching around thinking there's a raccoon in the ceiling or something.
That's awesome.
That
That's
is great.
great. Yeah, I used to. So I've been kicked when I first started and got into like outside sales from the phones. Um, you got to get through the gatekeeper, the person at the front, and I would page myself, and I'd be like, "Oh, I just got a really important page. Do you have a phone I could use?" And one of my biggest customers, actually, Amto, Jimmy Corcoran's old company. Um, I got in there because I went up a service elevator because I went around and I said, "Hey, I got a page. Can I get your?" And I acted like I was going to a payphone, and I worked the way up and worked the building. That's how I got them. But
Oh my God.
um, yeah, those were hooligan sales stories from back in the day.
Love it.
But yeah, no, I mean, I went from starting in the long distance space, and then I went outside, and then we got into technologies, doing different technologies, and I remember when internet was a thing where you could buy an internet T1, and that was like, oh, you could count how many people had a T1 in Baltimore on one hand back in the day. So it's evolved over the years. I started my company, what was the beginning of my company in '99. Honestly, what happened was I got tired of being in sales, and every year some dork came in and was like, "Hey, we got the new comp plan, and you got to sell 15% more to make 15% less."
Yeah.
And I just got tired of that stuff. And the other thing too is I was in a position where I was in acquisition, so I would build a relationship with somebody for 6 months to 2 years, and then the minute you closed the deal, you had to move on. You weren't advised at all to talk to people. You're actually encouraged against it. And I was like, that's just stupid. So that's why I went out on my own and did what I did. Um, and this allows me to cultivate those relationships, maintain those relationships, and grow 'em. And so I am part of an ecosystem with about 500 technology vendors, um, and essentially we go in and help people. I jokingly call us Tinder for technology because we're like a matchmaker, right? We go in and we help them figure out what they need. Every customer's different. Some customers are better. They know more what they need. Others might need some coaching on what they need. So we'll help them come up with a scope of work. We'll help them, and then we'll bid it out. I wrote a book called The RFP Alternative. I have it prominently back there
Yeah.
behind me. Uh, Subtle book plug. But um, yeah, the idea behind it is to help guide people through a journey to make it easy to buy technology instead of being overwhelmed by it and having to put out these crazy RFPs and all this dumb stuff. So um, that's kind of what got me into it. I wanted to help people do. I wanted to help make it easy. You know what I mean? Because it can get really complex, really convoluted. And So by doing this, it allowed I have access to an incredible network of engineering resources. So even though they're not my employees, I have access to some really smart dudes, and and that that shows up pretty well when I can come into a Chesapeake Orthopedic and say, hey, I've got some really sharp people that can talk about, and they're not pitching a logo, or they're not just representing one vendor or another. We can go in completely agnostic and come up with what's in your best interest. So that's
Right.
how the company started. Um,
What was
and
that process like being in your early 30s and being like, "I'm going out on my own"? Like, what was the did you have help? Did you have mentors? Um,
Yeah, so I started actually in May of '99. So I was 29 years. I just turned 29. I wasn't married. I had lived in this animal house townhouse, so I think I was the ninth roommate that had been in there. And when I made the decision, I said, there was this one room that had like all the junk from all the previous eight roommates, and I said, you guys mind if I? They were doing a renovation in the townhouse behind us. It was in Cockeysville, and they're like, no, that's cool, go ahead and do it. So I'd go on these runs at night to the dumpster and just throw, I'd do a couple runs every night till I cleared it out, and that's where I started the business. And at the time, I wasn't married. Uh, I didn't have a family. My biggest bill was probably my bar tab at the time, and so like, you know, I I said let's give it a shot. And a guy named Ben Humphreys out of Richmond, Virginia, um, he gave me the opportunity to come up under his umbrella. He gave me a bridge. So basically, he fronted me some money on the front end, and then I would pay it back as a bridge loan based on commissions, and we would do 50-50 split on the commissions. So he really got me started. And then, my
In
uncle
this
Timmy,
same thing, in this same, basically that same business model that you're working through today when you first started.
the exact same. I
Okay,
basically went under his umbrella. I was a
got
sub
it.
agent under him, and so yeah, he really gave me the guidance. I was a good sales rep, but I didn't know anything about running a company.
Sure.
you know, um,
And I
and
cut you off. You're
so
talking about Uncle Timmy.
no, no, no. This is
Uh,
another. So I was going into Timmy. I think had advised me one time. I had all this stock from Quest when I was an employee there, and and I was dumb. He's like, hey, you know what? You might want to sell some of that stuff. I'm like, nah, it's gonna raise and split. It never did. So I basically I used the stocks that I didn't follow his advice from, and that was that was how I funded the front end of the company, with the colleague Ben in Comtel in the Richmond. But that was we worked together for 22 years, and
okay.
then he finally sold his business in 2022, and he had actually started a voice over IP company down in Richmond. They're a really good company, and he kind of focused all his efforts on that, and they're still doing well. So he took an exit there. He'll probably take an exit again in another 10 years from there, and he'll retire down to the Virginia Beach, and hang out, have a good time. So good man, good people. So I couldn't have a better mentor at starting my business there.
So when you started, how do you get clients? Is it pure hustle? Is it people you had connections with anyway? Like, what was it?
Uh, some. I really hadn't networked that much. I mean, I do it significantly more now. But at the time, we were just, I mean, I literally I would go to a building and I'd go to the top and I'd work my way down. I'd take the elevator up, I'd work my way down. The guy who I started with, a guy named Chuck Jelso, I'll give him he was, he came from one of a really aggressive, cold calling atmosphere. And I was literally burning shoe leather. I had to knock on 50 doors and make 30 phone calls every day. That was my, and I did it religiously for the first year or so until I figured you can go to one of the Chinese buffets and reach in and grab all those cards. And I would just come back. He said, "Let me see your cards." And I'm like, "There you go." He's like, "Boy, you're all over the place. You're in Catonsville. You're in Rockville. You're."
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Oh man.
Yeah. So but no, but it created the foundation of, really getting in there and working hard. But yeah, no, it was definitely a grind. I was trying to build partners. I was knocking on doors. I was making cold calls. Just all that stuff. Yeah, you build it from scratch, and the good news is you had all the time to prospect because you didn't have anything else going on. You didn't have to
Right.
worry about retention. You didn't have to worry about customer service issues. It was all just straight acquisition. And so, you know, uh, when you got to make it work, you'd be surprised how aggressive you can get and how focused you can get. Um,
Yeah.
Funny story about that. When I was right before I left, I had this little car, little Mazda RX-7. You ever seen those little rotary 2-seat rotary engine? It was a fun car to drive. I was so broke when I first got this one job LCI right before I left out on my own, and I couldn't afford a starter you know what I mean. So I would have to park it on a hill, and I was the first one in and the last one to leave because I didn't want anybody to see me running down the hill in
Oh my
my
God.
wingtips in a suit trying to pop the clutch.
Oh my
And
God.
I think I learned something about commitment because if you get to the bottom of that hill and that car's not started, there is no plan B. So
Right.
that's
Oh
kind
my
of the
God.
way we do. That's kind of the way I've always done things. Is just try to make sure I go at it all the way, go at it hard.
So
Um,
Danny, talk about that. I mean, you've got this spirit, you've got this drive. How do you pass that on to your employees and to your kids? Or can you? Or is that something
my
people just have?
my kids want nothing to do with my business. It's kind of funny.
Right.
Um,
But I mean, but just the drive part of it, you know?
Yeah, no, it's you have done. And both my kids are very driven. They work hard, and I'm very thankful for that. They both are very. My son is at Ole Miss doing sports management and analytics, and he's got an internship lined up this summer. He also got a course. It's not a credit course. It's just a certification at NYU that he's already almost done. So both of my kids are driven. My daughter has 2 gigs. It's funny. She's a soccer coach, and she actually gets paid, and I coached soccer for 13 years, and I didn't make a dime. It actually cost me money every year. And she looked at me, she goes, "You did this for free? You're stupid, Dad."
Hey,
So,
So she
so
she
Danny, I
speaks very
coached
freely, my
lacrosse
daughter.
for a long time, and every year I got promoted. Like every year I moved up. They never paid me, but I kept moving up every year. So I,
Way
I
to
thought that
go.
was a success. Now,
Why don't you be why don't you be commissioner of the league, Ty?
yeah.
There you
yeah.
go.
Now,
You're so
a
good at it.
behind the scenes story is that Denny did the communications for our practice, and our senior partner at the time had the same last name as Denny.
Huh.
And
That's
I
weird.
was I was a young guy, and we brought it up in the board meeting. Our manager was LaDan Reichel, brought up in the board meeting that Dennis was going to be doing our communications, and I'm like, Dennis, what's his last name? And I heard the name O'Donovan, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. I trusted the boss to make the right decision, who was Terry at the time. But I did walk up to LaDan afterwards, and I'm like, we're not giving out charity to the O'Donovan family, are we? And LaDan was like, no, Denny's great. It's a great deal. He's taking care of us. He's working hard. He's awesome. And she was an impressive businesswoman. So if she
I
thought you
still
were
work with her.
great,
Still,
you must
I
have been
love her to
great.
death.
Yeah.
She's awesome. I love her to death. And please, I'll do a shout out to Danny. So if she's watching this, I love her to death.
Yeah.
I work with her over at OBC too, her other company, and
Oh, cool.
she's phenomenal. I think the world of her. She expects a high bar,
Yeah.
and so she pushes me to be my best, and I can honestly say that with the exception of one time with with your practice with Chesapeake Orthopedic, every time we have upgraded, we have done it at a cost reduction.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that doesn't happen very often. There was one
Yeah.
time we added a net new solution, but I could give you an example. We just added, we had to renew your internet circuits at both locations, and we got it 5 times faster for about $50 less at each location. So it's kind
Yeah.
of cool. You get 5 times the juice for saving a few bucks.
So
Because my
great. So
kids
now
need
you and
shoes. My
you and
kids need
Clef,
shoes, even though they're grown. They still need shoes.
that's great. So now you
They
and Clef
do need
can
shoes.
look at Speed Racer videos a lot faster. That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
Now
awesome.
let's get into artificial intelligence because that's
Yeah.
where Matt knows some. I don't know that much. Let's start off with like, where am I using it already that I don't even know about?
On your phone, you're using it for Siri, Alexa. You're using it for emails. You're using it for notifications, photo when you're cropping out that person in the background you didn't want there, or the weird uncle. Um, that that's
His name's
that's
Devin. His
you-
name is Devin.
you're using it in like ways. The Lyft, Lyft, you're using it for, there's a million different ways. When you're on Amazon, it makes recommendations, or Netflix and it makes recommendations. That's all AI. It's
Okay.
all AI.
So Danny,
Um,
what's an easy way for me to explain this to my 80-year-old parents? What is AI? Is there an easy way to say it?
yeah, I mean, the way we typically say it is it is machine intelligent. It's machines and software that are mimicking human intelligence to some degree,
Okay.
right? So, um, you know, and there's a lot of different versions of it. You know, there's conversational AI, there's generative AI, there's all
Right.
kinds of different uh, AI tools. But basically, what you do is you've got a large language model. That's like a chat GPT, one of those things. You put that on the front of a huge data set, and what this tool is what the AI is doing is basically it's doing predictive analytics. It's doing a bunch of different things, and the better it gets, the better it will start to think and start to understand how you think and how you understand how
Yeah.
you work. Like you can do it in email filtration. So I use a platform called Marbleism right now, and it actually has 6 different AI agents. I wanted to When I first started getting into AI, so we first started getting into AI probably about 6 years ago, and AI was a subset of another tool. So, for instance, it was a subset of security. So they were using machine learning in security to look for anomalies, like Matt logged in Annapolis and San Francisco within 1 minute of each other. That's a problem, right? So it'll take that, it'll look for those anomalies, and it'll basically put an envelope around them, throw them over here, and say, we're not going to let that get into the environment because that's suspicious. So we're going to send that off and have IT look at that. The other thing is a contact center. It's a big deal in call centers, contact center. AI has been unbelievable at what you can do there. Again, we started to see it. Basically, it was a tool that made something else better, and then lately it's starting to be its own thing, right? ChatGPT came out in 2022. People were just blown away. It's the fastest. There has never been another tool that has been adopted faster in human history. So it's it's intriguing, and it's funny because I've never been diagnosed, but I've got ADD pretty bad, and so for a uh, a shiny object chaser, and to have 15,000 new AI tools come out every day, and I want to play with every one of them. It's been challenging, I've got a business coach. It's like, dude, focus. You
Yeah.
gotta focus. And I'm
But
like, I got this tool. I got this tool.
But I get
So
it, as being diagnosed, I'm into it, right? I'm like all over the place. I'm doing like deep, and now I understand that ChatGPT understands what I'm thinking, or if I ask it a question, it remembers a question I asked it 3 weeks ago, and
yep.
so it tailors the response to that. But back to 2022, I remember I felt like it was like this time of year, right after the new year in 2022, when it hit. And all of a sudden, it was like I had never heard about it. And then it was every other conversation, everything on the internet was all about ChatGPT. And it was crazy. I was like, wait, how did this pop up? And it came out of nowhere. It felt like, to me, it felt like it came out of nowhere. But all of a sudden, like you said, it's just caught on, and now it's just everywhere. You can't get away from it, which is
No,
great.
it's no question about it. I mean, so AI has been around since the 50s. It was actually developed in Dartmouth in the 50s, and it was the reason we didn't know about it is because it was predominantly in research. Again, it's predictive analytics. You take a data set and you say, okay, based on this data set, what do we anticipate this doing? And then, like, fast forward to the 80s, I was a big chess guy. I played. There was a chess thing called Boris back in the 80s, and what it had done is it had figured out all the possible moves based on where you were and where this rook is here, this bishop's here, you know what I mean? And you would be able to play it. And so I would, I was the only child. And so that was probably a way that my parents could have a few hours of quiet, not annoying, youngster because I'm here playing this chess set, you know what I mean?
Ty,
It was
now it
neat.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why we lost so many girls to Denny. The guy could dance.
Yeah.
He had a mullet. He had a
Yeah.
mustache, and he played
It's,
chess. I mean, we had no
yeah.
chance.
He
How
also
is
went
All,
that?
through
all,
puberty when he was 12, and I didn't go through till I was
all,
22. That was his
He was
advantage.
11 and he was
all,
shaving.
all the
He
lady
shaved
killing
before his
tools,
first
right?
communion.
Chess, breakdance,
Breakdancing.
moonwalking,
So,
You
so
did it cool,
Denny, you're
buddy.
gonna need to. We're gonna get serious again here. To break it down for me, who I'm
yeah.
not super tech savvy, I was joking
What?
with Matt about this in the intro. If I ask my phone, why is Earl Campbell not considered the greatest running back of all time? Will it just search the internet for the answer and then kind of put all the answers together and then give me a paragraph? Or how does it work?
So ChatGPT is a generative chatbot, right?
Okay.
So basically, it's been trained on billions and billions and billions of pieces of data,
Uh-huh.
and that's kind of AI in a nutshell, right? You create, you build this whole humongous data set. You can call that context, and 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 then this tool will go in and search it and sort it. Generative AI is designed to actually create something and give that. That's by the nature of it, it's to generate. It'll generate a report. It'll generate a picture. It'll generate an answer. Um, other AI tools are kind of like if this then this, or you know they're a little more linear, but ChatGPT and some of these other large language models are designed to, they're designed to give you answers. They sometimes can give you the incorrect answer. It'll say right on there, AI can be wrong. Check
Uh-huh.
your answer.
Yeah.
So, some people, anybody right now who is doing anything that is allowing AI to respond without being checked, I would seriously question that right now. At some point, it may be ready, but right now, it's not ready for that. Um, because it can make mistakes. I'll give you an example. My AI tool, it does email filtration, which I love because I get, because I have close to 500 vendors, I get an insane amount of email, not because I'm important, but because I have that many vendors all going to sell my services. Use
Uh-huh.
me, and go to my webinar, and so having a tool that can filter my email, and it's color coded, so it put little flags on there, and it says basically this is garbage, and then that way, because I still do a lot of business via email, so I can focus on the things that matter. Um, and then it learns to respond. The other thing it does, it's really cool, is a response. It'll automatically draft a response and it'll check my calendar. That's a really cool thing because I get probably 10, 12 times a week. Hey, can you give me two or three options on your calendar to jump on a call? And I have to stop what I'm doing, hold my calendar up and all that. And the fact that this thing can prompt it automatically, and I still have to go in there and check it, but it makes mistakes. So for instance, if you were to say, hey, do you want to go play golf at Eisenhower? I might say, yes, sir. I do, yes, sir, YESSIR. It's just my little. Well, speaking of LaDan has sent me an email, and she asked me something, and it responded, "Yes, sir,"
Oh,
in the drafts. So I don't think LaDan would have appreciated being called "Yes, sir," you know what I mean,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
being referred to. So, but so it'll learn like you, but it's still not right sometimes.
Okay.
And there's times when I have to, you have to, give guardrails. You have to. There's a perfect example when I was doing because I did a pretty heavy certification earlier last year, about 150 hours of certification. So there's certification courses popping up all over the place, and I'm in the algorithm now because I search so much stuff. I think my Facebook is 95% AI tools. Because I don't even think I have any friends there anymore because it's all just AI ads. Um, but Hopkins has a course for it's like 12, 13 weeks, but this was 150 hours. And so their courses are popping up all over the place. So it's interesting to see the shift. There's definitely going to be a shift in work, without question. Um,
Now, you mentioned the writing the emails, and I'm assuming like
yeah,
blogs or paragraphs or even books or homework or whatever. I know in school they don't want you using AI, which makes sense, and we can talk
yeah,
about that more. But like, if I wrote something and I'm an average writer, could it learn my writing style and then take my outline and write something, but in my own style? Can it learn my way of doing it, or is it going to be its way of doing it?
it can absolutely learn your way of doing it. When it does it, here's something I'll give you a tell. If you see the word delve, that's been written by AI. Because
Okay.
I don't know
Delve.
anybody that uses the word delve.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
So I've every time I've ever tried to write something with AI, they're always like, "Let's delve into that." I'm like, I don't delve. I'm not a
Yeah, I've
delver.
never delved.
Um,
That's
So
so
what
never
funny.
delved
happens
before.
when you walk into a company and you say, I'm Denny O'Donovan and I'm here to give you AI technology? Like, how does that process work? Like, how does
So it's been an interesting shift for me, to be honest with you, because before, we were selling services, so we were offering services, we were consulting with people on what services are there, but it was kind of transactional. You want a new phone system? We'll put a new phone system in. We're gonna. Yeah, it's more detailed than that, but ultimately that's what it is. Um, where we are now is that, to your point, Matt, they're so noisy. AI is everywhere, right? And all these business owners and business leaders know that they need to invest in AI in some way, shape, or form to stay competitive, but they don't know where to start.
Right.
And to a person, that's where they are. Now, the bigger companies, I think, there's any number of large companies. McKinsey, I think Phil Kyle's company does a great job with the really big companies with AI. From what I've seen, I haven't talked to him about it, but I've followed them, and they seem to be doing really good work there. Um, but the small to mid-sized businesses is what they'll see here in the Mid Atlantic. If you have a managed service provider, you have a help desk company, they hear AI and they'll throw you on Microsoft Copilot and they'll say, go to YouTube and figure it out.
Okay.
And, so that's not a great strategy. So what we do is we help people with education, advisory, and then we have a series of assessments that we use that can do a deep dive. I just did one last week and I met with 7 different departments from a company. What we're looking for in its shortest way, if you take anything away from this, it's improved workflows. There's some really cool stuff out there, and you can do all kinds of stuff with video and content. But where AI is going to have the biggest impact on most businesses is improved workflows. We all have workflows that we hate. Everybody's got them. I have them, and so the way I look at workflows is there's a trigger event. I call it the trigger. It's something that starts it. Is it a phone call to your company? Is it an email? Is it somebody looking at your website? Is it, there's 1,000 triggers. And then the last task is sending something to that end user, whether it's a proposal, whether it's finished product, whatever it is. And let's just say for easy math, it's a 5-task workflow. Task 3, 4, and 5 are the ones that we're going to look at to try to put some automation in there. Because if I can free up 20% of your time, think about it. If every company can free up 20% of every person's time, that's a you look at the cumulative effect of that, that's humongous. And
yeah.
and so that is where I think if you can picture where AI is going to go, it's that. So
It's
let's improve this workflow. Let's streamline it. Let's take the garbage out. I like to say AI is like an intern, right? You're not going to give the intern your best client. You're going to give him the stuff that's been in the corner for 3 years that you've been looking at, right? You're going to say, hey, go do that, fix that.
Yeah.
And that's what AI can do when you start to look at it. And it's a combination of AI and automation. Automation's been around for a long time, but the problem is that only the largest companies could afford it because it was 6, 7 figures because you had a lot of really, really smart people writing lots of code. AI is now doing with low code, no code, what it took those folks to do. So now the small to mid-sized business can take advantage of automation. And then AI is just kind of an orchestrator. They're like cousins. I say AI and automation are cousins. And every AI has automation, but not all automation has AI.
Got it. So Denny, my takeaway is that you think people are going to be working smarter, not harder, and through AI, but are people going to be losing jobs? Because that's the time we're talking about. People are freaking out that the workforce is going to get demolished by AI. Do you think that's
That's a
happening?
that's a great point. And there are some jobs that will absolutely be clobbered, no question about it. So World Economic Forum last fall said that 93 million people worldwide will lose their jobs to AI. But they also said by 2030, 170 million jobs will be provided by AI.
Hmm.
It's almost double.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a shift in work, right? It's going to be, so if you think about it, like prompt engineering, that's a 6-figure job. Prompt engineering, teaching people how to properly prompt in ChatGPT. That's a 6-figure job in some cases. And why that matters. So here's a way to think about it. So we've, and Ty, maybe you haven't, but Matt, I know I've been on ChatGPT and I've prompted, and 30 minutes later and 15 prompts later, I finally get something that I like.
Yep. Yep.
There's about 30 different prompting styles. So if you can go in and do in 5 minutes what it would have normally taken because you used a more elaborate and detailed prompt or a prompt style that's going to get you the outcome that you want faster. Think about if every time you used ChatGPT, if you could save 50, 60% of your time.
Yeah.
Again,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the small wins that that the cumulative effect of that is where AI is going to have the most impact.
So I was telling Ty, so in sales, I track a lot of my data. This is, the outcomes, this is what happened, this is what, and so literally like today or last week, I was kind of looking at month by month, like how it was going, where I needed to kind of focus, and I had my Excel spreadsheet up that I created. Copilot, came up and said, "Hey, we can analyze this for you," and it did. And it said, "You know what? Here's where you sent more emails and you got more clients that month than you did other stuff." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's crazy!" And I went back to do it again today, and my prompt was different. I couldn't remember how I prompted it last time because I was getting the way the output was different, right? It was now in graphs and charts.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I want the words. I want I want to read about it. And so it was very interesting but it knew enough to, basically give me the same stuff, but just in a different format. And that's interesting. You have to really watch your prompting, I guess, to get the same
I mean,
output.
that's a thing. And then think about it. Like the way I think, I really genuinely think that the people who know AI are going to replace the people who do not. And that's a choice. It's a language. AI is a language. And you got to either learn how to speak it or you get a translator. And I jokingly call myself a translator, right?
Yeah,
I'll help you figure it out. So
And
that it is, it's truly a language.
I like that.
it's kind of the optimistic view is that every time there's been a new technology, it has always created jobs in the past.
Every time.
So I think
It, it,
it's kind of
it
like, don't
has.
be afraid of it.
Well, I mean, I've been doing this long enough that I remember Y2K. I remember we didn't have cell phones. When I first started, or you had. I remember Sprint up here in Hunt Valley and like towards right past Hunt Valley. You might as well have had a rock in your hand because the network stopped right there. So like it just the technology evolved. I mean, the reason I pulled those 3 things out that I joked with those 3 old technologies is that it evolves and you got to evolve with it or get left behind. Billions and billions of dollars was transacted on those devices, and now they're paperweights that are a funny little gimmick. And so and AI is just is the new kind of latest and greatest thing. But for me, I truly think it's a locomotive moment.
Right.
It's that big. AI is that big, and that's why I put all my eggs in that basket because Interestingly enough, for me as a business owner, the AI conversation actually leads to the other things that I was doing, right? It's where's your data live? How clean is it? It's how you're communicating with your clients and it's security and connectivity and all those things that we were doing anyway. They're all part of the AI conversation because it's definitely shaping doing things really interesting like power. An AI query is 10 takes consumes 10 times more power than a Google search.
Really? Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But
And
so as you said, Danny, this is, this is Eli Whitney, this is the cotton gin, this is everything. When you're talking to mid-size, clients who say, "Hey, we need to implement some of this," how do you what's next, right? Or where is this going? Because obviously I don't think you have a crystal ball, but how do you prepare for that? Like, okay, I want to do, chat GPT stuff in my company today, but how do I get ready for the next big thing? I don't put all my eggs in this basket, or do they?
Yes. So we're going in and like when I went to that assessment, I basically went and I looked at all the systems they're using. How are they communicating with one another? How are they communicating internally? How they communicate externally with their clients, with their vendors, and all that stuff. We look at all that and we look for ways to automate and streamline that process. Some of it's real easy. You know what I mean? Like I went back to I mentioned the contact center. That's one where unfortunately, call center people are going to lose their jobs. And there's two main reasons for that. And it's because I can put a chat bot on the front end of a call center, contact center. Now most people refer to it as contact center because it's not just phones anymore.
Right.
It's SMS, it's email, it's all of it, right? We call it omni-channel. But I can put a chatbot on there. I can deflect up to 50% of the calls that come into a call center. And that's basically I can build a chatbot that's based, remember frequently asked questions on your website? Well, that's what a chatbot is. And now those chatbots are now not only frequently asked questions, but you can ingest it with pricing, all of your customer information. It can ingest all that information and be conversational on while it's dealing with it. There's that, and I can do that for 60, 70 grand a year. If you have a 30-person call center and I could deflect 50% of that, that's $1 million in payroll a year. CFO is going to look at that.
Yeah.
The other thing that's prompting that is the younger generation doesn't want to talk on the phone.
Right.
They're in the phone all day long, but they don't want to talk on it.
Yeah, but they don't want to
They
use
don't
it
want
as
to
a phone.
call.
Right.
I'm guilty of waiting on hold for 45 minutes to dispute a $4.95 charge. Not the best use of time, but the younger generation will do it. They'll chat with you and they're perfectly content if that chatbot gives them the result they want. They're off to the races,
Right.
and they're doing 5 other things while they're chatting with you. You know what I mean? And so
Crazy.
that's what's driving it. And so I have conversations with business owners. Like we answer all of our calls live, and I'm like, that's great, but you just alienated probably 50% of the people that could buy from you because they don't want to talk on the phone.
oh
Right.
wow,
They're going to
yeah,
find
I never
somebody
even
else that
thought
can.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so give them both. That's what I always
Yeah.
say. I said give them both. Give them the phones, but also give them a way to communicate with a chat bot or something like that, so they can still buy your product without them having to dial a phone and wait on hold to get to a person.
Well, as to that point, I was just reading somewhere where they're talking about most Americans right now, when you go to the whatever grocery store, you can either go to the self-checkout or go through the register with a person there who scans the items. The majority of Americans go to the self-checkout, right? Because they don't want to have to interact with the person, there, and they're like speed and just, let me just go. I just don't want to wait. And so, to your point, I think that's all part of it.
It's a shift so the way I look at it and what prompted me to go this route is I was like, all right, we're all in the same age bracket. I'm looking at maybe 8, 10 years before I retire with all these tuition bills and all that stuff. And I was like, what's going to take me to this next step? And that's why I really wanted to invest in AI and I wanted to invest in my knowledge of it. Uh, it's also systems. I have systems and tools that I can go in and I can punch in these workflows and it'll help me create ROI or help judge ROI. So I can go to an executive and say, hey, Mr. CEO or Mr. or Mrs. CEO, here is the ROI on automating this process. And if it's a good ROI, that's an it's an easy conversation. If it's bad, sometimes spending money for me to help not spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a project, that's money well spent too. You know what I
Sure.
mean? So just understanding that's part of what we do is we help them figure out, all right, where do we spend our money? We're going to go after the low. A lot of people, I think, don't have success in some of these AI deployments because they try to boil the ocean with AI. And you don't have to do that. I'm looking for the low hanging wins. I'm looking for the low hanging fruit. I'm looking for the easy win. There's two reasons for that. One, the C-suite making the decisions, they want to get a win. They want to be like, all right, this is good. The other thing is people hear AI and they immediately think that they're coming for their jobs.
Right.
It's a very real thing. I mean, I've been in meetings and I'm just gathering information and I'm trying to make your life easier. I'm not trying to get you fired. I'm trying to take that thing that you've been complaining about for 20 years that you hate this process, and I'm saying let's let a machine do that so you can focus on the key critical thinking stuff that the human needs to do. And so you get a win like that at the low level, you get an opt-in from the C-suite, and you get an opt-in from the people doing the tasks. And then it's like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? So that's great for me as a business owner for, having projects for, 12, 18 months.
Yeah, I get
Um,
it.
So
and so,
Denny, in my job, one of the big reasons for physician burnout, I think, is the notes. You have to document. It's not just me seeing you and being able to figure out what's going on, and then actually the small talk of getting to know your patient. You're always a little bit rushed because you got to get the note done. And I know there's already AI things that can just listen to the patient visit, and I'm guessing that probably within a year or two, everybody's going to be doing that. That's going to take that whole burden of writing a note off of doctors' backs. But also, I imagine that when you have to write the letters to the insurance companies and talk to the insurance companies, I imagine that's going to be AI to AI also. And then
yeah,
you,
you're right. There's a lot of note taking and scribe based applications that are out there, and the vast majority of them are not HIPAA compliant. And so that's a big thing. Like if
okay,
ChatGPT out of the gate is not HIPAA compliant. You go to their pro version, it is, but that's $200 a user.
yeah,
So part of what I do is I help people figure out these different options and what's out there. And so the other thing is the note taker apps. And I don't, you probably would see more of that in like telemedicine or something like that.
uh-huh,
Um, there are some personal where you can do some of that in person, and yeah, I mean, because so like transcription is a big deal because voice and data are two different things. You can't be analytical with voice, right?
yeah,
You can with data. When that becomes transcript, now it's data. You can do something with it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And that's where kind of what Matt was talking about before about like being able to be analytical with it and say, okay, what are my trends here? What's going on here? What are we doing here? But like, we see that with folks and a lot of what we're talking to people about is just what you said, right? We've got to take these notes, and that notes have to hit this system. It's got to hit this system, and I'm having to manually recreate these notes in multiple systems, and that's time consuming, and it also leaves open the ability for errors. And so if I can use AI and automation, if I can use AI to do the transcription, I'll paint you a picture, right? We're looking at one for a friend of mine in the financial services industry. They're going to do a Zoom call. They do a Zoom call. They get the transcription. That transcription, if we do it right, and they have the ability to be able to automate and put some of their pricing structure in there, it can hook into a knowledge base which gets all their pricing. It can send it over to their system, populate the notes in their system, whatever their CRM is. In this particular case, it's Redtail. Um, then the proposal can automatically be generated, and then it can automatically create a task to you to send this proposal to this person based on the conversation from that the transcription from
wow,
that meeting,
okay.
just like that.
Boom.
Now, to finish up, we talk about the future. So in like I think there's a lot of misconceptions. So I was just talking to somebody about robotic surgery, and they actually seem to think that like this AI robot, Arnold Schwarzenegger, is going to walk in and do your surgery. And right now, when they use robots in surgery, it is purely just a piece of equipment. It still requires a surgeon. It requires a
Yeah,
captain to run the ship. So it's helpful technology, but it's not taking the place of the surgeon. What do you think the future is going to be? I mean, are there going to be AI robots walking around doing certain jobs, or is it always going to be a piece of equipment that we're still running?
I hope the latter, to be honest with you. Just because, AI can do some cool stuff. The challenge here is ethics in AI.
Uh-huh.
And that's something that I have a major concern about because not all countries are on the same page with respect to how they develop it. This is a race. This is
Uh-huh.
clearly a race, and everybody wants to win the AI race because it's got huge economic impact. Um, I mean, we haven't even gone into the power consumptions and data centers and the fact that computers are going up right now because all AI is taking up all the chips. I mean, there's so many things that are happening out there. Um, but the AI ethics in AI is a concern for me. One of my biggest concerns is deepfakes,
Uh-huh.
um, because the three of us live correctly. We go about our day and we do the right things. But let's say, God forbid, you had to terminate someone, and they took issue with it. You know, the, it exists today where somebody can put your face on something that doesn't make you look good.
Yeah.
And in today's society, we condemn faster than we defend.
Yeah.
And so that concerns me is that there's a whole bunch of things that are out there, but that's one that really concerns me. But the ethics of
You
of
could like do it the
making
day of an
sure that
election where you don't have time to correct it. And you
it,
could do crazy
just
stuff.
all the time. A friend of mine's in a bank, worked at a bank, and they used AI through a series of Zoom calls, and they generated the voice of the CEO, put it in some sort of an instrument where they said, "Hey, transfer 11 or it was $7.5 million in an ACH." Once it hits an ACH, it's gone.
Gone.
It's gone.
And
And
are
and
you
and
seeing that
to
with
and
celebrities where they're using celebrities to advertise products where the celebrity never it's AI
never
generated
endorsed it.
or they never did it?
Yeah, yeah. It's scary what you can do with it. The technology is really good, and with all technology, the bad guys are using it just like the good guys are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's this tug of war between who's going to use it, and we see it in security because security is an element of our business too. The bad guys are using security to try to get in and steal your stuff and lock your business up, and meanwhile the products made by the good guys are trying to be there to protect you. So it's a tug of war, and I think ultimately it's ethics and morality. AI is a jetpack. You can go very fast, but if you do not have direction or guidance, you can go really fast right smack into a wall. And
Uh-oh.
so
Good
it's
stuff.
really important to have a good focus, and that's part of what we help with the advisory side of it is making sure you have a good AI strategy. Because if you're not all on the same page, that's a challenge a lot of IT directors have right now. Is at any given moment you could have 10% of your workforce running free AI trials on your network, and you have no idea what they're exposing it to, and it's scary, So you got to make sure that you have a plan, um, and just use it wisely. Don't put information you shouldn't put out there. Um, so being able to protect it. So security in AI is a big deal, and I think as these things pop up, there's a whole other group of folks that are coming out and AI security specialists. Like that really wasn't a thing
That's
3
right.
years ago.
Yeah. So when you said
This
it's
is
a
good.
race, is the United States doing well in the race? Like, how are we
We're
doing?
we're winning right now, but I think we're also spending more than anybody in it right now,
Okay.
and I think we have to because I think we probably hold ourselves to a higher standard than say China or some of the other folks that are just trying to win. They don't care,
Uh-huh.
and they don't care whether it's ethical or not. And
Okay.
and and so I think we probably have to outspend them because we may have some hurdles that they don't because of our ethics.
Okay.
Right.
And so that's just my guess. I mean, I'm certainly, they don't call me and ask me for that stuff, but
And then my other question was, you mentioned, I forget what you called it, data farms or the actual leg.
Contact
data,
centers.
the
What's it
data
called?
centers,
Yeah.
the data centers.
Yeah. Is the technology going to get better on that, where it's a smaller grid and maybe better for the environment, that kind of thing, or is that not in the foreseeable future?
I mean, when I just said the power these things require is absolutely mind blowing. They're just shy of having to put nuclear reactors in some of these data centers.
Okay.
I mean, that's how much power they consume. So our current grid cannot handle it. That's why I think, and I'm a fan of electric cars. I don't own one because I'd be the guy that never plugged it in properly, and I'd be stuck. I'd be the one calling a cab, calling an Uber because I didn't. So I love them. I think they're cool. One of my I've ridden in them, but I just think electric cars and AI are going to be tough to have in the same electric grid.
Okay.
We got to do some things there because the power these things run, it's insane.
Now, are
Um,
people? I guess people are working on that problem.
I'm sure. I mean, that's probably a whole nother job that
Denny
they're.
can't do everything, Ty. All right, don't make Denny do
Yeah,
everything.
I'm.
Okay.
That's above my pay grade. I'm
Yeah.
not smart enough for that.
I don't know
Okay,
about
and
that,
my
but Denny,
final theory is, if we're talking about the Terminator coming to terminate us, isn't our chance to survive that computers always need to be reset? They always need to reboot. They always lock up on you. Can't we strike when he has to be
Control Alt
rebooted?
Delete, baby. That's
there
what we
you
do.
go.
We just
I
Control
mean, I
Alt
don't
Delete,
understand
and
how.
then we moonwalk on them. We
Yeah,
moonwalk
Oh,
on them.
yeah.
Denny, that's the
Throw a
reason
little,
you're gonna be a survivor. Denny will be the
throw
last
a
man
little break
standing.
dancing on them.
Yeah.
Oh my God, spin on its head. Denny, this is awesome. This is good insights for stuff that we should all know more about. So we'll definitely be coming back to you and asking more questions.
Happy to. I mean, I love it. It's a like I said, it is a fast. It's as fast as I've never seen anything move this fast.
Right.
And so what is cutting edge today is obsolete tomorrow. And I think some people at the business level are actually putting off because they don't want to spend a whole lot of money to have something, because they're all just like, Google and OpenAI, and they're all like outdoing each other every
Yeah.
3 weeks. It seems like it's
Right.
just wild. It's fascinating.
Good stuff.
So you seem very excited about it, about your job. Are you excited to go to work every day because it's always new and going?
Yeah, I will say that this new part of my career with the consulting on AI, it's interesting because I can go to every department and there's a different application for AI within that department. Whereas most of my stuff before was kind of IT, and you know what I mean. It stayed there and it was great. I love it, and I've made a good career. It's been fine. This is I do a much more intimate deep dive with folks, um, and that's
Probably,
been interesting. That's been
yeah, probably
fun. It's been really
rejuvenated you a little
fun to
bit, a
try
little
to
more wind in
solve.
your sails. Very
Yeah,
cool.
you can put, you can solve problems, and I kind of liked it. That's what I've always loved about it, is solving the problem.
Yeah,
Okay.
man.
And
Okay. My serious question is, Denny, everybody relax. Denny, can you beat your dad in pickleball?
I've never played pickleball. He
Oh
would
my
whip my ass right now. I've never played. My son's
Ah,
picked it up down there. He wants to play when he comes back up. I think I'm gonna play. He comes back in Thursday, and I'm
So
hoping we're gonna get some
so first
time.
of all, because you were a tennis player, you'd be a natural at pickleball. Your dad is really good.
that's really
That's what I
good.
heard. I
Your
heard he's a
uncle's
stud.
amazing. Both your uncles are amazing. Your uncle Terry's amazing. I'm
Uncle
sure
Dick.
Timmy's good. And Brian Klepper, we had him on as a pickleball pioneer. So if you played
I
once
love
or
it.
twice, if you
I
played
want
once
to
or
play,
twice,
man.
you could beat Brian.
I want to play. I mean, I've put on a few lbs since my tennis days, so I don't know that I have the same range on a
What?
full tennis court. So
Are you
the
sure?
smaller pickleball court
Yes.
probably is better for me.
Your hand-eye coordination,
Yeah,
you would be
yeah,
great at
you'll
pickleball.
dominate. I got
Yeah,
nothing but confidence in you,
yeah,
Denny.
yeah,
You're a good man for spending some time with us. This is great, buddy.
yeah.
I love it, man. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for reaching out. It's good seeing you guys.